My name is Nora Turner. I'm 33 years old and run a small jewelry business from my apartment in Minneapolis. I never thought I'd be telling this story, but sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you become the ones you need protection from. Family was everything to me. At least that's what I believed until last March. That's when I learned that blood ties can be used as chains, quite literally in my case. I remember staring at the citizenship interview appointment letter in my hands. After 12 years in America, the path to becoming a citizen was finally clear. One interview stood between me and belonging, between constantly looking over my shoulder and security. I'd worked for this moment, dreamed of it through sleepless nights filled with worry about my future. "Just don't screw it up," my brother Jake had said with that familiar smirk when I showed him the letter. Something in his eyes made me uneasy, but I pushed the feeling away. He was family, my older brother. Despite our differences, despite his borrowing money he never returned, despite the cutting remarks about my accent that had almost disappeared after years of practice, he was still my brother. I should have known better. The morning of March 22nd dawned crisp and bright. My interview was scheduled for 9 a.m. at the Federal Building downtown. I'd laid out my navy blue blazer and cream blouse the night before. Professional but not intimidating, the outfit of someone who belonged. I'd prepared for months, studied American history and government, until I could recite the amendments in my sleep. My lawyer, Maya Patel, had run me through mock interviews until we were both confident I'd sail through the real thing. "You've got this," she'd assured me. "Just be yourself, the hardworking, honest person I know." I'd chosen to stop by my parents' house in St. Paul first. They weren't particularly supportive of my citizenship journey. They'd always treated my immigration status as somehow shameful, but I wanted them to be part of this milestone anyway. The house looked the same as always. The peeling white paint on the porch swing, the crack in the third step that never got fixed, the faint smell of my mother's coffee that somehow permeated the walls. Jake's car was in the driveway, which surprised me. He rarely visited our parents before noon. "Hello?" I called, pushing open the front door. The house was quiet except for the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. "Down here," Jake's voice echoed from the basement. "I need to show you something before you go." I checked my watch. I had time. Over an hour before the interview. Always punctual, always prepared. That was me. The basement door was open, light spilling onto the steps. I descended carefully, one hand on the railing. "What is it? I can't stay long," I called out. "Just come see," he replied, his voice coming from the storage area at the back. I reached the bottom of the stairs and peered around. The basement was cluttered with decades of family possessions, holiday decorations, old furniture, boxes of photos no one ever looked at. "Jake?" The door slammed behind me. I whirled around, heart suddenly pounding. Jake stood by the closed door, key in hand, a strange smile on his face. "What are you doing?" My voice came out higher than I intended. "We need to talk, sis," he said, pocketing the key. "About this citizenship thing." "I don't have time for this. My interview is at 9. I reached for my phone. "Yeah, about that." He leaned against the door. "I don't think you're going to make it." The realization hit me like a physical blow. "You're not serious." "Dead serious." His face hardened. "You think you can just waltz in and become American? Get all these benefits while the rest of us struggle? I've been here 12 years. Jake, I've worked hard. I pay taxes. This is my home." "It's not your home," he shouted, suddenly furious. "You've always been the perfect one, haven't you? Little Miss Successful with her cute jewelry business. Mom and Dad may not see through your act, but I do." I tried to keep my voice steady. "This isn't about you. Please, open the door." "Not happening." He crossed his arms. "Maybe missing this interview will be good for you. Teach you some humility." I stepped toward him, anger replacing fear. "Give me the key, Jake." "Or what? You'll call the police?" He laughed. "Go ahead. Oh wait, your phone's almost dead, isn't it? I noticed you were at 15% when you walked in." I glanced at my phone. The battery was indeed low. I'd planned to charge it in the car on the way to the interview. "Jake, please, don't do this." "Already done." He turned and started up the stairs. "Maybe now you'll finally fail and get kicked out." "Where are Mom and Dad?" I called after him. "Breakfast with the Andersons. Won't be back for hours." He paused at the top of the stairs. "Don't bother screaming. Mrs. Reynolds next door is practically deaf, and everyone else is at work." The door closed with a decisive click, followed by the sound of the key turning in the lock. I stood frozen for a moment, then raced up the stairs, pulling at the doorknob, pounding on the wood. "Jake, open this door right now." His laughter filtered through the door, followed by his footsteps retreating. I pressed my forehead against the cool wood, trying to think. This couldn't be happening. Not today of all days. My phone. I could call someone, Maya, or my friend Rachel from work. I pulled it out, wincing at the 12% battery now displayed. I dialed Maya's number. Come on, I muttered as it rang. "This is Maya Patel. I'm unavailable right now." Voicemail. I hung up and tried Rachel. "Hey, it's Rachel. Leave a message." I bit back a curse and tried 911. 911, what's your emergency? "I'm locked in my parents' basement. My brother locked me in, and I have a citizenship interview at 9 o'clock that I'm going to miss." There was a pause. "Ma'am, are you in immediate danger?" "No, but..." "Is there a medical emergency?" "No, but I need to get out. My brother locked me in deliberately to make me miss my interview." Another pause. "Ma'am, this sounds like a family dispute. If you're not in danger, this isn't an emergency situation. Have you tried calling another family member to let you out?" I closed my eyes, frustration mounting. "My parents aren't home. Please, can you send someone to help me?" "What's the address?" I gave her my parents' address. "We'll send an officer when one becomes available, but I should warn you that response time for non-emergency situations can be several hours." Several hours. My interview would be long over by then. "Thank you," I said hollowly, and ended the call. Percent battery now. I had to conserve it. I sent quick texts to both Maya and Rachel explaining the situation, then turned off the phone to save the remaining battery for when I might really need it. Then I looked around the basement, assessing my options. The small windows near the ceiling were too narrow to climb through, even if I could reach them. The door at the top of the stairs was solid wood, the lock old but sturdy. There was no phone down here, no other way out. I was trapped. I sat on the bottom step, hands shaking with a mixture of anger and disbelief. How could Jake do this to me? I knew we'd had our differences, knew he resented my success while he drifted from job to job, but this level of sabotage was beyond anything I'd imagined. A memory surfaced. Jake, 16 years old, tearing up my college application essay the night before it was due. "It's for your own good," he'd said. "You don't want to go away to school. You'll be all alone." Another memory. Jake, taking the money I'd saved from my summer job, promising to invest it for me. The money had disappeared, and with it, my plans to take design classes that fall. There had always been an edge to his pranks, a darkness I'd tried to ignore for the sake of family peace. Our parents had always made excuses for him. "He's sensitive. He's finding his way. He doesn't mean any harm." But this was different. This was calculated, deliberate. He knew exactly what this interview meant to me, knew what missing it would cost. I checked my watch. 8:15 a.m. In less than an hour. My name would be called at the federal building, and I wouldn't be there. I stood up, renewed determination flowing through me. I wasn't going to sit here and let Jake win. Not this time. I began searching the basement methodically, looking for anything that might help me escape. Old toolboxes, holiday decorations, boxes of childhood mementos, nothing useful. Then I spotted my mother's sewing basket tucked behind a stack of old magazines. I rummaged through it, fingers closing around several bobby pins. I'd never picked a lock before, but I'd watched enough crime shows to understand the basic concept. I bent one of the bobby pins into an L shape and kept another straight. At the top of the stairs, I inserted the bent pin into the lock, feeling for the pins inside. With the straight pin, I began applying pressure, listening for clicks, feeling for movement. Time crawled by. Sweat beaded on my forehead. My fingers cramped. The lock remained stubbornly engaged. I checked my watch again, 8:40 a.m. If I got out right now and found a cab immediately, I might still make it, though I'd be cutting it extremely close. "Come on," I whispered, jiggling the pins with renewed urgency. Something shifted inside the lock. I froze, then carefully applied more pressure. A click, then another. I held my breath, turning the doorknob slowly. The door swung open. For a second, I couldn't believe it had worked. Then I was moving, rushing through the house, grabbing my purse from where I'd left it on the kitchen counter. No sign of Jake. His car was gone from the driveway. I burst out onto the front porch, frantically looking up and down the street for a passing cab. A futile hope in this residential neighborhood. I turned on my phone, praying I had enough battery to call an Uber. 6% battery. The phone powered on agonizingly slowly. As soon as I could, I ordered a ride, then called Maya. "Nora, where are you? Your interview is in 15 minutes. I know, I said, breathless. "I'm still at my parents' house. Jake locked me in the basement. I just got out." "He did what?" Her voice was sharp with disbelief. "He locked me in to make me miss the interview. I'm waiting for an Uber now, but I don't think I'll make it in time." "I'll call the office. Explain there's been an emergency. Maybe they can reschedule you for later today." "Thank you," I said, relief washing over me. The Uber arrived, and I gave the driver the address of the federal building, asking him to hurry. He did his best, but Minneapolis morning traffic was unforgiving. By the time we pulled up at the building, it was 9:25 a.m. I rushed inside, straight to the security checkpoint. "I have an interview at immigration," I told the guard, voice tight with urgency. "I'm late. There was an emergency." He checked my ID and appointment letter, then called upstairs. After a brief conversation, he looked at me with sympathy. "I'm sorry, ma'am. They can't see you today. You'll need to reschedule." My heart sank. "But it's important. Please, can you tell them I had a family emergency?" "They've already moved on to the next appointments. You'll need to call the number on your letter to reschedule." I stood there, letter clutched in my hand, the unfairness of it all threatening to overwhelm me. Jake had won. He'd succeeded in derailing one of the most important days of my life. Maya was waiting for me in the lobby, concern etched on her face. When she saw my expression, she didn't need to ask. "I've already been on the phone with them," she said, guiding me to a bench. "The soonest they can reschedule is in 3 months." 3 months? My voice broke. 3 more months of uncertainty. 3 more months for Jake to find new ways to interfere. "I'm so sorry, Nora. What your brother did, that's beyond unacceptable. That's criminal." I looked up at her, something shifting inside me. "Yes, it is." The resignation in my voice was gone, replaced by something harder, colder. "What are you thinking?" Maya asked, watching my face carefully. "I'm thinking it's time Jake faced consequences for once in his life." When I got home to my apartment, I plugged in my phone and made a cup of tea. My hands surprisingly steady. The initial shock and panic had subsided, replaced by a clarity I hadn't felt in years. Jake had crossed a line, not just any line. He deliberately tried to sabotage my future, my security, my place in this country. And for what? Jealousy? Some twisted sense of superiority? As I sipped my tea, I began to see the pattern that had been there all along. The borrowed money never returned, the subtle undermining of my achievements, the not-so-subtle mockery of my accent, my foreignness, the time he'd blocked my car in the driveway when I was trying to leave for an important client meeting, laughing it off as a joke when I'd missed the appointment. It wasn't just thoughtlessness, it was deliberate, calculated. Jake had been sabotaging me for years, and I'd been making excuses for him, just like our parents did. Not anymore. I opened my laptop and created a new document. At the top, I typed, "Jake Turner, A History of Abuse." Then I began to list everything I could remember: dates, incidents, witnesses, financial losses. The picture that emerged was damning. July 15th, 2023. Jake showed up drunk at my online store's launch party, insulted my business partner, and knocked over the display table with all my new designs. December 10th, 2023. Jake borrowed the $3,000 for an investment opportunity that he refused to explain. When I asked for the money back at Christmas, he claimed he never received it. My parents refused to get involved. January 5th, 2024. Jake took my car without permission, returned it with an empty tank and a dent in the passenger door that cost $800 to repair, claimed it was already there. And now this, locking me in a basement to make me miss my citizenship interview. I sat back, staring at the document. Part of me couldn't believe I was doing this, collecting evidence against my own brother. But another part, a stronger part, knew it was long overdue. My phone buzzed with a text. Jake. How was the interview? Oh wait, did you miss it? Such a shame. My fingers tightened around the phone. I wanted to respond with all the fury building inside me, but something held me back. A new thought was taking shape, one that required patience. I didn't respond to his text. Instead, I called Rachel. Nora, what happened? Are you okay? I told her everything, about Jake locking me in the basement, about missing the interview, about the 3-month rescheduling. That's insane, she said when I finished. Your brother needs serious help, or jail time. Maybe both, I said. Rachel, I need a favor. Anything. I need you to help me gather evidence, text messages, voicemails, social media posts, anything that shows Jake's behavior patterns. I know he said things to you before. There was a pause. You're going after him, aren't you? Yes, no hesitation. I'm done being his punching bag. Good. Her voice was fierce. I've been waiting for you to stand up to him. I'll send you everything I have. After we hung up, I called Maya. I want to file a report, I told her. Against Jake, for false imprisonment, at minimum. That's definitely appropriate, she said. But Nora, are you sure? This is your brother. I'm sure. I took a deep breath. And there's something else. Something I haven't told you. I'm listening. Jake isn't a citizen either. He's been here on a visa that's up for renewal next month. I paused. I want to know what options there are for reporting him for abuse. There was a long silence. You're talking about potentially getting your brother deported. I'm talking about consequences, I corrected. For years of abuse and sabotage, for trying to destroy my chance at citizenship. Is it possible? Another pause. Yes, she said finally. Domestic abuse can absolutely impact immigration status. But Nora, this is a nuclear option. Once this process starts, it can't be undone. I understand. Let me make some calls. In the meantime, document everything, and I mean everything. I spent the rest of the day doing exactly that. I dug through old emails, bank statements, text messages. I wrote detailed accounts of incidents I remembered, with dates and contextual details. I reached out to friends who had witnessed Jake's behavior over the years, asking for their recollections. Rachel came through with screenshots of texts Jake had sent her. Mocking my accent and my pathetic little business, an ex-boyfriend provided an email where Jake had warned him to stay away from me because I was unstable and using him for a green card. By evening, I had a substantial file, evidence of years of emotional and financial abuse, of sabotage and manipulation. My phone buzzed again. Jake, Mom wants to know why you didn't show up for dinner. Told her you're probably too busy being important. I stared at the message, a strange calm settling over me. He had no idea what was coming. I didn't respond to him, but I did call my mother. Nora, where were you? We waited dinner for you. I was dealing with a crisis. Mom, I missed my citizenship interview today. Oh? Her voice was distracted. Well, you can reschedule, can't you? Not for 3 months, and I missed it because Jake locked me in your basement this morning. There was a pause. What are you talking about? Jake wouldn't do that. He did, Mom. He admitted it. He did it deliberately to make me miss the interview. I'm sure there's been some misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding. He locked me in. I had to pick the lock to get out. By then it was too late. Well, I'll talk to him. No, Mom, I'm done with talking to him. I'm filing a police report tomorrow. Her voice sharpened. Don't be ridiculous. He's your brother. We don't involve outsiders in family matters. This isn't a family matters, it's abuse. And it's been going on for years while you and Dad looked the other way. That's not fair, Nora. Jake has his struggles. So do I. Mom, but you've never cut me the same slack. I took a deep breath. I'm not calling to ask for permission. I'm letting you know what's happening as a courtesy. Nora, I have to go. I'll talk to you later. I hung up, hands shaking slightly but resolve unbroken. For the first time in my life, I was drawing a line, setting boundaries, standing up not just to Jake, but to the family dynamic that had enabled him for so long. It felt terrifying and right. The next morning, I went to the police station and filed a report about the basement incident. The officer taking my statement was sympathetic but not particularly optimistic. Without witnesses, it might be difficult to pursue charges. He warned me. But we'll talk to your brother, get his side of the story. He texted me about it, I said, showing him the message. He's not even trying to hide what he did. The officer's eyebrows rose as he read the text. That helps. We'll definitely be having a conversation with Mr. Turner. From the police station, I went straight to Maya's office. She was waiting for me with another lawyer, a stern-looking woman in her 50s. Nora, this is Patricia Whitfield. She specializes in immigration law, particularly cases involving domestic abuse. We shook hands, and Patricia gestured for me to sit. Maya has filled me in on your situation, she said. I've reviewed the documentation you sent over last night. It's compelling. Can we do anything with it? I asked. Yes, she said simply. Your brother's visa renewal can absolutely be challenged based on this pattern of abuse. Moreover, his actions regarding your citizenship interview could be construed as obstruction of an immigration proceeding, which is a federal offense. I absorbed this information slowly. What would happen to him? Best case scenario for him? His visa renewal would be denied, and he would be required to leave the country voluntarily. Worst case? Deportation proceedings with potential bars against re-entry. The weight of what I was considering settled over me. Jake had tried to destroy my chance at citizenship. Now I was contemplating doing essentially the same to him, but as a consequence of his own actions, not out of malice. I need to think about this, I said. Patricia nodded. Of course, this isn't a decision to make lightly, but don't wait too long. His renewal hearing is in 3 weeks. I left their office with a heavy heart but a clear mind. This wasn't about revenge, it was about justice, about finally standing up for myself after years of accepting mistreatment. That evening, as I was updating my evidence file, my doorbell rang. I checked the peephole and saw Jake standing there, his face set in an expression of false concern. For a moment, I considered not answering. Then I decided to face him. I opened the door but blocked the entrance. What do you want, Jake? Mom said you're upset, he shrugged, as if my feelings were a minor inconvenience. Thought I'd check on you. I'm not upset. I'm done. He frowned. What's that supposed to mean? It means I filed a police report today about you locking me in the basement. His expression shifted from confusion to anger. Are you serious? It was a joke. A joke that cost me my citizenship interview. Oh, come on. You can reschedule. Why are you making such a big deal out of this? Because it's not just this, Jake. It's years of you undermining me, sabotaging me, taking from me. I'm done making excuses for you. He stepped forward, looming over me. You're going to regret this. Nora, we're family. You don't betray family. Funny, I was just thinking the same thing. I met his gaze steadily. You should go now. If you have anything else to say, you can say it to the police. I closed the door in his face, heart pounding, but spirit strangely light. For years, I'd been afraid of Jake's disapproval, of his anger, of disappointing him. Now I saw those fears for what they were: the lingering effects of emotional manipulation. My phone rang an hour later. My father. "Nora, what's this nonsense about the police? Your mother is beside herself." "It's not nonsense. Dad, Jake locked me in the basement to make me miss my citizenship interview. I'm pressing charges." "This is ridiculous. Whatever happened, I'm sure Jake didn't mean any harm." "He meant exactly what he did. He told me so." "Well, you must have provoked him somehow." "Stop." My voice was firm. "I'm not having this conversation again. I called to let you know what was happening as a courtesy. I don't need your approval or permission." "Nora." "Goodbye, Dad." I hung up, a strange mix of sadness and liberation washing over me. I'd spent so much of my life seeking their approval, making myself smaller to avoid rocking the boat. No more. The next 3 weeks were a whirlwind. I met with Maya and Patricia multiple times, refining our strategy. I gave a formal statement to the police, who had interviewed Jake and found his story inconsistent and suspicious. Charges were being considered. I continued to build my file of evidence, reaching out to more people who had witnessed Jake's behavior over the years: former coworkers, neighbors, even an ex-girlfriend who had left him after he'd become increasingly controlling. My parents alternated between pleading with me to drop the vendetta against Jake and threatening to cut me off if I proceeded. I stood firm, reminding them that I had been financially independent for years. Their threats had no power over me anymore. Jake escalated from threatening texts to showing up at my workplace, causing a scene that required security to remove him. I filed for a restraining order the same day. Through it all, I kept working on my jewelry business, channeling my anxiety and anger into creating. New designs flowed from my hands, stronger, bolder pieces that reflected the transformation happening within me. Rachel and a small circle of close friends rallied around me, providing emotional support and practical help. They accompanied me to meetings, screened my calls, helped me document Jake's increasingly erratic behavior. The day of Jake's visa renewal hearing arrived. April 15th, tax day, somehow appropriate. I dressed carefully that morning. A navy blue suit, simple pearl earrings I'd made myself, my grandmother's locket around my neck. Professional, composed, strong. Maya picked me up, and we met Patricia at the Federal Building, the same building where I should have had my citizenship interview weeks earlier. Jake was already there when we arrived, with our parents and a lawyer who looked fresh out of law school. Jake's face darkened when he saw me, but he couldn't approach. The restraining order saw to that. My mother tried to intercept me in the hallway. "Nora, please, think about what you're doing. He's your brother." I looked at her sadly. "I've thought about nothing else for weeks. Mom, this is Jake's doing, not mine. We're your family. Family doesn't lock family in basements. Family doesn't sabotage each other. Family protects each other." I gestured to Maya and Patricia. "These people have protected me more than you or Dad or Jake ever did." I walked past her into the hearing room, head high. The hearing itself was surprisingly straightforward. Patricia presented our evidence methodically: the police report, the text messages, the financial records, the testimony from witnesses. She highlighted the pattern of abuse, the escalation, the deliberate attempt to interfere with my immigration proceedings. Jake's lawyer tried to paint it all as sibling rivalry gone awry, as misunderstandings and exaggerations, but the evidence was too substantial, too consistent. Jake himself didn't help his case. When questioned directly, he became defensive, then belligerent. He accused me of manufacturing evidence, of turning people against him, of always trying to make him look bad. "She's always been jealous of me," he said, voice rising. "Always trying to take what's mine. This is just her latest attack." The immigration officer, a stern woman in her 60s, peered at him over her glasses. "Mr. Turner, what exactly has your sister taken from you?" Jake faltered. "My place, my parents' attention, Your place?" the officer pressed. "In the family, in this country, she acts like she belongs here more than I do." There it was, the core of his resentment. laid bare. The officer turned to me. "Ms. Turner, do you have anything to add?" I looked directly at Jake as I spoke. "I never wanted to take anything from you. I only wanted to build my own life, my own security. I would have helped you do the same, if you'd let me." I paused. "But you chose to try to destroy what I was building instead. These are the consequences of that choice." The officer deliberated for what felt like hours but was probably only 15 minutes. When she returned, her face was solemn. "Based on the evidence presented today, I am denying Mr. Turner's visa renewal application on grounds of moral character concerns and alleged criminal activity. Additionally, due to the nature of the interference with Ms. Turner's immigration proceedings, I am recommending a review for potential deportation proceedings." Jake's face drained of color. "You can't be serious." "I am entirely serious. Mr. Turner, you have 30 days to appeal this decision. During that time, you are required to check in weekly with the immigration office. Failure to do so will result in immediate detention." My mother let out a small cry. My father sat frozen, disbelief etched on his face. Jake turned to me, eyes blazing. "Are you happy now? Is this what you wanted?" I met his gaze steadily. "No, Jake, this isn't what I wanted. This is what you created." I stood and walked out of the hearing room, Maya and Patricia flanking me like guardian angels. In the hallway, I finally let out the breath I felt like I'd been holding for weeks. Years, maybe. "Are you okay?" Maya asked gently. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I think I will be." The next month passed in a strange haze of aftermath. Jake appealed the decision. Of course, but with the police charges now formally filed for false imprisonment and the restraining order in place, his case was weak. The appeal was denied. My parents vacillated between blaming me entirely and begrudgingly acknowledging that Jake had gone too far. They couldn't quite bring themselves to support me, but neither could they fully defend him anymore. It was an uncomfortable middle ground that I suspected would be our reality for years to come. My rescheduled citizenship interview arrived on May 10th. I wore the same navy blue blazer and cream blouse I'd laid out that March morning. This time, I arrived an hour early, sitting calmly in the waiting area, reviewing my study materials one last time. When my name was called, I stood tall, shoulders back, and walked into the interview room with confidence I hadn't felt in years. The interview itself was almost anticlimactic after everything that had happened. I answered the questions easily, spoke about my business and my contributions to the community, explained my journey to this moment. The officer stamped my approval with a smile. "Congratulations, Ms. Turner, pending the background check, which I don't anticipate any issues with. You'll be invited to take the oath of allegiance next month." "Thank you," I said, emotion thick in my throat. As I left the federal building, stepping into the bright May sunshine, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. Not just the weight of immigration uncertainty, but the heavier burden of family dysfunction I'd carried for so long. My phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. "How did it go?" I smiled and replied, "I passed. Ceremony next month." Her response came immediately. "Celebration dinner tonight, no arguments." I laughed and agreed. Then, after a moment's hesitation, I texted my parents. "I passed my citizenship interview. Ceremony next month. You're welcome to attend if you'd like." Their response was tepid. A simple, "Congratulations. We'll see about the ceremony." But I hadn't expected more. Bridges that had taken decades to burn wouldn't be rebuilt overnight, if ever. Jake was scheduled for deportation in 2 weeks. He hadn't reached out to me since the hearing, which was for the best. I felt no triumph in his situation, only a sad recognition that justice sometimes comes at a heavy price. As I walked to my car, I touched the small pendant around my neck. A twisted silver design I'd created during those tumultuous weeks of preparation for the hearing. It represented transformation, the way pressure and heat can turn something ordinary into something precious and strong. That's what this ordeal had done to me, transformed me. I had entered this country 12 years ago as a hopeful immigrant, seeking opportunity and belonging. I had endured years of subtle and not so subtle reminders that I was an outsider, even within my own family. Now I stood on the threshold of citizenship, not just legally, but in a deeper sense. I had claimed my place, defended my right to be here, refused to be diminished or erased. In trying to lock me out of America, Jake had inadvertently forced me to break free of the invisible chains that had held me back for years. The basement door wasn't the only lock I'd picked that day. I started the car and drove toward the future I'd fought so hard to secure, a future built on my own terms, by my own hands. Free,